difficulties. First and foremost, jazakallah khair for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful. And second, my presentation is on hope, since it is the theme of the concert. So I'll be speaking to you on hope. But you can't just talk about hope without also mentioning fear, as hope and fear is the two wings of faith. So hope is mentioned in the Quran in many places, but one of my favorite places that I wanted to talk about today is the hope in the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam and his beloved father as well, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. As Yusuf's story is full of being betrayed by his family, being kidnapped, sold into slavery, falsely accused of adultery, imprisoned, what drove Yusuf alayhi salam and how he overcame his struggles was the hope that he had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as his father, who was full of sorrow but never lost hope despite the fact that Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was gone for decades. So in the Quran it says, certainly no one spares of Allah's rahmah except the people who disbelieve. So as believers, we always have hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is hope? As a question. Hope means a feeling of expectation and desire for certain things to happen. For example, as being here today, I am hopeful that, inshallah, that this concert is beneficial to all of you, and that you take away a lot from it as well. Hope is also found in spirituality in the work of Imam Al-Ghazali in his great book, Hope and Fear. It says, hope is the means of salvation, as it is a technique in therapy, which is the cure of the soul. So hope is used in therapy to cure the soul, whether it is through spiritual means or psychology. And our intellectual capacities vary, and there are great differences in our temperament. And that's why it's important that when we are taught the religion or any other knowledge, it is equivalent to our own unique way of our life, and it reflects our own journey and our own struggles. And so that's why we thought, as also being one of the organizers of this event, we thought this unique way of conveying what hope is was a great way to learn that message through artistic display of what hope is. And he also discourages, Imam Al-Ghazali Rahimahullah, he also discourages where the proper basis for hope does not exist. For example, false hope, hoping for good outcome without doing the work. And that's what false hope is. For example, always relying on the mercy of Allah or the forgiveness of Allah, but we're not trying our best. As long as we are striving, as long as we are doing all that we can, that is what hope itself is. And there are two conditions to hope where therapy can be applied to heal others. One is when the individual is overcome by fear, and the other is when the individual is paralyzed by despair. I've actually seen this done in therapy with individuals and clients where they feel so overcome by fears, whether it is past things or circumstances or future worries and fear, and hope and having hope is what helps an individual overcome these types of fears. what psychology says about hope. So Barbara Fredrickson is one of the psychologists whose work I looked at, and she argues that hope comes into its own when crisis looms, opening us to new creative possibilities. So what Barbara is saying here is that when we are in crisis mode, we get creative. For example, we just had a little mini crisis earlier, trying to figure things out, and we got creative, right? So that's what hope is, resolving issues and getting creative. And with great needs comes an unusually wide range of ideas as well, as such as positive emotions, as happiness, joy, courage, empowerment, drawn from 4 different areas of ourselves, from our cognitive, psychological, social, and physical perspective. So such positive thinking bears no fruit, she says, one based on realistic sense of optimism and not a naive, false hope. So psychology and both spirituality, from Imam Al-Ghazali's perspective, agree that you can't just have a naive sense of false hope. You must do the work in order to achieve the fruits that you want. There's also the hope theory in psychology. As a specialist in positive psychology, Snyder studied hope and forgiveness and how it impacts several aspects of our lives, such as our health, our work, our education, and personal meaning. He populated that there are 3 main things that make up hopeful thinking. One is having goals, an approach in life in a goal-oriented way. Second one is pathways, finding different ways to achieve those goals. So again, getting creative. And the last one is agency, believing that you can instigate and change and achieve these goals. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to talk about the physical manifestations of hope on earth. And the 2 pictures that I have here is actually a picture of a tree, and it is right before the spring, right before the trees started to receive their leaves, and you can see the tree completely barren without any leaves. And then just 2 weeks later, in this picture, the tree was completely filled with green leaves. So that is a physical manifestation of hope on earth. There are other symbols of hope as well, such as the sun also rising every single morning in itself is hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ever-presence and power on the earth here and in our lives, as well as the moon, as well as the oceans. So hope is everywhere as well. You can find it in nature, you can find it within yourself, you can find it in your relationship with your family, your friends, and in this setting, in the love and the gratitude of sisterhood. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the concert. Jazakallah khair for your time. Assalamu alaikum.